Today is Friday. My check is already gone. Bills are paid. Gas was $3.89 yesterday. I have no idea what it's going to be today, but it continues to go up, even with oil being released from the National Reserve, and yeah, we're approaching some hard times. So we have what happened recently. Russian fighter jets went into Sweden's airspace. That's exciting. A Russian helicopter flew into Japan's airspace. Nothing really going on there, right? Yeah, nothing to worry about. And, oh, yes, that's right. Chernobyl 2.0. I'm going to assume that most of you watched the Chernobyl series because that it was released during the height of the pandemic, when everybody was shoved into their homes and told that you were going to die within minutes of contracting a certain virus. Remember when that was the good old days? So now that we're quickly approaching what is already, in my opinion, World War III, Russia was dropping artillery in the area with the largest nuclear power plant in all of Europe. Yay! And they started a fire. And then when firefighters showed up to put the fire out, I feel like I've seen this movie before. You know, the firefighters show up, they're like, what is that? Oh, that's not graphite. Yeah, the firefighters show up, and then the Russian soldiers start shooting at the firefighters who are trying to put out the fire to stop a nuclear meltdown that would make Chernobyl look like a fireworks show. I don't know how to compare that. Like, Chernobyl was bad, but they're saying that this would be like 10 times worse, and we really don't know what that means. Although I did come up with one theory, and it's that Putin wants this buffer between NATO and him, even though there's 4 countries that are already on his border. But if he really wanted this buffer, well, he just turned an entire country into Tarkov. And, in order to reach Russia, you have to go through like weird mutants carrying AK-47s in a highly radioactive space that nobody lives in. Be like the European version of Mad Max in the Thunderdome. So everybody continues to get involved in this situation. Germany is sending Stinger missiles to shoot down Russian aircraft. Latvia said that their citizens could go into Ukraine to kill Russians because it's the choice of their citizens. It's not the actual military being sent in, therefore it's not a war? They're not declaring war? I don't know. The definition of war seems to have changed over, I don't know, the last 21 years. I remember when Al-Qaeda was doing some stuff. They were an organization, but they didn't have uniforms. That was a big issue, because how do you identify the enemy if they're not? Then if you're an enemy who's doing like some weird terrorism, insurgency type thing, why would you wear a uniform? So the definition has changed. And what we consider to be an act of war is a lot different than what it was before. So, having said that, 9/11 was an act of war. And there's very, very few people that would deny that, right? So, if a country sends their citizens into another foreign country to kill the soldiers of another foreign country, the country who's having their soldiers killed, they kind of have a right to be pissed off and say this is an act of war. And for some reason, Europe is trying to play this weird liberal word game of like, well, we didn't declare war. We didn't tell them to go over there and do that. No, but you gave them permission and you kind of encouraged it, especially through social media where videos are being shown of soldiers preparing for war, who they're targeting, encouraging other foreign fighters to come in and help. I mean, did the Iraqis ever do this, or Al Qaeda in Iraq with insurgents do anything like this? Were there ever any UK citizens that went to Iraq to kill US citizens ever? I don't know. My memory is kind of blurry. Help me out with this. Yes, we have seen this before, and unfortunately, it appears that the lessons that should have been learned in a previous altercation are not being applied here because it was bad for them to do it, but it's okay for us to do it. And again, this goes back to what we've been dealing with for the last 2 years. Certain organizations with letters representing them can go into the streets and protest, and that's deemed okay. Some other group goes into the streets and protests for what should be their constitutional rights. You're killing grandma and you're a horrible human being. Oh, and we'll freaking arrest you and put you in jail with no one to bail you out, unlike the other group where certain presidential candidates were bailing people out for arson and acts of terrorism. Yeah. So I'd hate to say it, but yes, this is a war, and we like to think that in war there's a good side and a bad side. But, like in any war, there's an asshole over here and an asshole over here, and they're both throwing shit at each other, claiming that they are the righteous ones. Europe is not innocent here. And I think it's something that we're going to have to acknowledge, that the games that the countries in Europe are playing right now are just as dangerous as the game Putin played going into Ukraine. So they're not going to be able to argue their way out of a nuclear war. And what's even more funny is that here I am talking about nuclear war. There's our press talking about nuclear war. Europe is discussing nuclear war. Macron's come out and said, like, this is going to be really bad. I just got off the phone with Putin. Prepare for the worst. And through Russian sources in their country, it's not being brought up. Nobody's talking about nuclear war. It's not even a thought. Like, it's not coming to their minds like, what if they nuke us? So there's I don't know. It's tough when stuff like this is happening, and the first casualty of any war is the truth. And as we know from the last couple of years, we cannot trust our media at all, even when it comes to important stuff like this. The pandemic was important. Could not trust the media at all. People would speak out. They would say, "Hey, we have this data. Shut up! You shut your filthy pie hole. We're banning you from everything on the internet." 6 months later, hey, we have this new data. The science has changed. Meanwhile, that guy still isn't allowed on the internet and isn't allowed to talk, even though he was freaking right, and he's the one that blew the whistle on what the truth was of the situation. And we've seen this time and time again, where the truth was trying to come out. Somebody shut them up. They claimed that for their own, and then they released it when they felt it was necessary. So did Russian aircraft go into Sweden? I don't know. Did a Russian helicopter fly over Japan or into the Japanese airspace? I don't know. Did Putin really send his family into an underground bunker city in Siberia to protect them from nuclear fallout? Not a freaking clue. I mean, the guy is pushing 70. He's probably thinking like, my time's coming to an end. I've only got, so much left to accomplish my international man of mystery spy goals in life. Uh, there's, I guess the only real option here is to just live your freaking life and enjoy it, because, if nukes fall, nukes fall. At least you were doing what you enjoyed. If they don't fall, at least you're doing what you enjoy. So on that note, keep on typing.